Good evening, friends. Operation Optimism is the topic of the evening. I'm here with my very dear friend, Leena Asher. Friends, Moonshot Conversations will explore and nurture a collective mindset that leads to a refined and redefined version of success. These conversations will be centered around those who would like to know more about parenting for happiness, resilience, health, and purpose. We aim to empower parents with valuable information, tools, and resources to use with children and enrich their lives as families. Friends, I'm happy to announce that our first show received more than 58,000 views and the content has reached more than 2 lakh people. Friends, the response has been awesome and excellent. Leena, before we begin, I would like to encourage you with 3 comments that we received during our first session. The first comment is from Rashmi Naik, who wrote, "Every child is different. We need to stop comparing and stop making them live our dreams. Let them be what they are, what they want to choose. We need to respect their choice." The second comment that I have selected is from Ravi Salunke, who has commented, "Moonshot conversations are going to be great conversations. They will cause lot of transformations in schooling, parenting, and the children's future. It's a great initiative." Friends, the third comment is from Dr. Rajesh Doshi, who commented, "What an amazing conversation. Ye dil mange more." They want more. Sure, Dr. Rajesh, here we are to take this conversation forward with a new topic of optimism. Friends, I request all of you to like and follow our Facebook page, which is Moonshot Conversations, and we once again promise you to some very insightful journal downloads, which will help you tremendously. You will always get journal downloads at the end of every session. You need to just go to moonshotconversations.com and download the journal. Recordings of all our talk shows and downloads of all the journals will be available on our website, www.moonshotconversations.com. In the last session, we discussed why we are collaborating and coming together. That's me and Leena for these Moonshot Conversations and why this is very much the need of the hour. Friends, today we are going to discuss an optimistic mindset. The word optimistic is derived from the Latin word optimus, which can be translated as best. The concept of optimism describes people with the attitude of always expecting the best in any situation. Optimists tend to hope that things will turn out pretty good. Today's session is focused on how parents' optimism influences positive parenting and child peer competence. So, friends, let me begin by asking Leena, what does it mean to have an optimistic mindset?
Okay, so even before I come to explaining what an optimistic mindset is, I want to explain its importance. So one of the most interesting theories in quantum mechanics will say that our reality is defined by the way our biology engages with the world. So basically that means our body, thoughts, and emotions, and the way we interact with the real world will create our reality. So our inner world creates our external reality. So
Fabulous.
now in that, and all of this has a bearing on our development of the correct mindsets for success, happiness, and well-being. So in a nutshell, if we know that our inner world creates our external reality, we now look at optimism from that point of view. So optimism is just the way you think about the world around you and what's happening to you. It's looking for the good in every single situation. It's expecting things to go well, as you said. It's thinking good thoughts even when things are going bad. It's having hope, it's having faith that the future is going to be better and it's always going to be great. It's believing that you can make things better. And while we can't, so one of the key things about this is while we can't always be in control of our situation, of the challenges that come our way, we can actually control the meaning we give that situation. And that is the importance of this. And remember, it's the meaning we give our experiences, the words, inner and outer, that will impact how we feel and experience things. So we can teach this to our children by the stories we tell our children. And in the journal, we've given examples of stories written by others or stories we tell our children. I read Pollyanna when I was 8 years old, and I know ever since then I've been playing the glad game, looking for the glad in every situation that I face, and it absolutely changes the way I react and respond to anything that happens in my life.
Fabulous, Leena. I love the word, the glad game. It is such an eye-opener about what is a glad game. Friends, you'll be able to understand what is a glad game when you will download your journal today. Friends, optimistic people tend to lead a happy and successful life. both the physical and mental health of a person tends to improve when a person adopts a positive perspective. Many studies have been conducted and it has been proved that optimistic people are happier and healthier. Lena, can you give me some concrete examples of how you can shift your thinking from negative to positive? Each person has gone through many examples, and these examples were teachers which taught us about these situations. Can you give us examples from your own life, Lena?
Sure. So first, when you go from the negative to the positive, it's called reframing or reappraisal. That's how it's called. So I'm going to give you an example, and you'll see how reframing got me from being stuck to actually getting me to action. From a thought that doesn't serve you to one that will actually help you take positive steps to move forward. So I'm an instructional designer. When we started Kangaroo Kids, we were completely unique. And then suddenly, my people would come to me and say, such and so has copied our design, or so and so has copied our design. So initially I felt, negative thoughts. Um, the big question, why are they doing this? Why are they
Absolutely.
copying me? And then I suddenly shifted it in my head. I said, how is that thought going to serve me? What if I shift it to saying, you know what? The reason why they're copying me is because we're A, very good, and B, it's gonna encourage me and challenge me to keep being more and more creative. And actually, what was once seen as a hindrance is actually
Yes.
what has motivated me to keep on learning and growing and being more and more creative. Give you another situation. A lot of schools used to poach our teachers because they had the IP in their heads. And at first, again, first you think badly about it. Then I said, hey, what if I start a teacher training institute, train these teachers, and send them out into the world? So anything that happens to you, and if anyone's got any challenges that they'd like to share, and we can look at jointly reframing them.
Fantastic. So you took the situation to a very positive scenario. In fact, you must have started, you should have given ads also. Please poach my teachers so that your training institute can get more students as more teachers as students. Lena, a psychology expert says that optimistic people are more likely to invest, act, and put effort in achieving whatever it is that they want to get done. So I guess you are saying that how we address challenges and negative experiences directly impacts our likelihood of solving them, which means positivity breeds success. What's your take on this, Lena? I would love to hear on this.
Absolutely. Look, maintaining an optimistic mindset is going to contribute to you in every way. Firstly,
Absolutely.
it gives you a stronger sense of self-belief, right? So,
Yes.
and an inclination to learn. So it will keep on challenging you to grow and learn and thrive. And these are all requisites for developing the right attitude to successfully address challenges. Because
Absolutely.
there's no life without a challenge. I tell kids that the only problem is if you think life is supposed to be without problems. So if we shift that, nobody's life is going to be free of challenge. So, but what you can do is when you encounter the challenge is to
Yes.
change how you respond to it. So the
Absolutely.
same set of challenges, two people will respond to it in very, very different ways. And it doesn't mean that we hide from the reality or that we bury our head in the sand. We look at the reality, but we reframe what it means to us. That's all it means. So we change the meaning of the situation or experience.
Absolutely. History has been evidence where people, the stalwarts of the people who created history that people read today, are people who were triggered by challenges, and how they responded to it is the only way they created the history that we all read today and we know about. So, Lina, that's a fantastic answer. Friends, I would like to remind all of you to like and follow our page of Moonshot Conversations. And we once again promise you to some very insightful journal downloads. This can be definitely helpful to you tremendously. You always get journal downloads at the end of every session that we are going to conduct. You just need to go to www.moonshotconversations.com and download the journal. Friends, recordings of all our talk shows and journal downloads will be available on moonshotconversations.com. And each journal, I can promise you, will deepen your understanding and embed it as a mindset in your brain. Friends, depression is on the rise. And in fact, I was reading somewhere that from 2007 to 2017, suicides in America have risen by 56%. And in fact, depression and suicides have gone up across age groups. So is depression one of the reasons why we should have an optimistic mindset and cultivate one in our children? Lena, what's your take on this word depression, which has really taken the world by storm? And we have seen something dramatic which happened to one of our film stars in the Bollywood. So what's your take, Lena, on this word depression?
So, firstly, again, go back that your thinking will create your reality, right? So, if you are going to think negative thoughts, that's what's going to perpetuate. If you think positive thoughts, that's what perpetuates. We can actually measure hormonal releases in the body. So, if you're pessimistic and you complain, you are going to release cortisol. When you choose to be positive, you open yourself up to the opportunities present in every challenge. So it's just basically whatever. That's why they say what you think and what you put out is what you attract back. And we know that if people who are positive attract positive people. We all have energy we emit, and we vibrate at certain frequencies of energy, and we will attract those people. And that's why they say that the 5 people you spend most time with is going to be the sum of who you are. So optimism not only is beneficial to not being depressed. It's overall beneficial to all our physical and mental health. As I said, complaining, gossiping attracts negative energy because it releases negative energy, and the brain activity you can measure is all about negative. So all I want everyone to think about, every time you complain, you're releasing cortisol. Think about that. And we've measured things where we say, oh, it's really hot today. And the minute you say, I'm just feeling really hot today, you actually increase the temperature in your body.
Absolutely.
That's how powerful our minds are. So I just want, I want that the competency of optimism has just got such a great chance, not only for success, but for mental and physical well-being.
Fabulous. So cortisol is the stress chemical that release in our brains and make us get so stressed. I'm sure this answer of Leena will absolutely trigger the right thoughts in our mind. And the journal at the end of the show will help you on how to overcome that stress. Friends, so I guess to summarize it, what you are saying is that being optimistic can make you happier, healthier, and more successful in all that you do. It can help you overcome problems. It can keep you focused on your goals. It can make you feel less stressed. That is what you mean, Leena, right? Can you explain that better, please?
Well, it just helps you have more fun. At the end of the day, what are we all here for? We all want happiness. I mean, we want to, even if we are aspiring for success, because we predict it's going to bring some level of happiness to our lives. So
absolutely.
just absolutely, it just helps you have more fun. It helps you learn more from every situation. It makes you more enjoyable to be around. I mean, there's a reason I enjoy being with you, Agnella Rajesh, is because you're an optimistic thinker. You think positive thoughts, and you want to live a great life, and I know you want to be the best version of yourself. And because I'm similar, optimistic people attract each other. That's it.
Fabulous. So well said. That makes two of us, like you expressed. Optimism brings the right people together and it becomes an unbeatable team. And you can add so much positive to this world around you. Friends, I'm always fascinated by nature versus nurture debate. How about and how much is dictated by our genes and how much by our environment and upbringing is very critically important to understand and know. Are we born with an optimistic or pessimistic mindset, Leena? How will you explain this particular question on are we really born with an optimistic or pessimistic mindset?
So the field of epigenetics, which is the study of the human body and cellular structures, has proven to us that even though we may be born with certain genes, it's our environment, and our environment includes the way we think. So it's our environments that will turn genes on or off. So even if we're born a certain amount of optimistic or pessimistic through our DNA, we can retrain our brains in either case. And that's the power and control that we have, that we should always remember. That the only thing we cannot always exert control over is primitive feelings like terror. So other than this, in the normal course of life, we all have the power to point our emotions in the right direction, in the direction of where we want to go, in the direction of our goals. So you can literally choose happiness. And this choice is often a predeterminer to achieving success. So not only do happy people earn more money, but they also display superior performance capability. They are more helpful to others. And, it's not just that, again, it's not just that happiness correlates with success, but it's actually one of the key determiners of achieving success. So that's the importance of having an optimistic mindset and knowing that you have control over your brain.
Fantastic. So, Leena, when you said about primitive terror or situations which we are very scared of, some bad situations from childhood, And those kind of situations, they, if I call it as a primitive terror, they control our mindset. Can you explain on how we can get out of that kind of a situation of controlling our primitive terror? Every human being comes with a primitive terror in his mind.
So from an evolutionary perspective, yes, because our brains are wired to look out for danger, because we had to look out for the snake, we had to look out for the tiger and all of that. So today you're only in a state of primitive terror if you're actually in a life and death situation. So if you're in a war zone where bombs are dropping all around you, it'll be very difficult for you to apply a positive mindset. If you're in a jungle and there's a pride of lions waiting to attack you, again, it'll be very difficult to control feeling optimistic. But the problem is, once upon a time, this was the norm. But today the norm is safe. Today we're all the time safe, and yet we still are watching out. Our amygdala, our brain, primitive brain, is still looking out for danger. So we have to understand that our brains have not evolved as quickly as the world outside has, and therefore it's even more important for us to keep controlling the way we think and controlling our mind. We have a negativity bias. We're born with it, but we can shift that to a positivity one. So we have to do that by shifting the way we pay attention to our thoughts and which thoughts we allow to enter our brains. So we need to give more attention to hope rather than fear, to the positive rather than negative, to abundance rather than scarcity. And I mean, we know that if I pay you 9 compliments, Agnil or Rajesh, and then I just give you 1 critical thought, your brain will pay more attention
to the critical thought.
Yes. So we have to know that our brains will pay more attention to bad news than good news.
Good news. Wow, Lina, that's such an eye-opener. So many times in life, we live with such a prejudiced mind, and the terror that we have witnessed in some part of our life, some time of our childhood or whenever, and it keeps coming back to you, and you frame your decision and thoughts based on those experiences, which we need to reprogram and bring in optimism and positivity to our mindsets. Fabulous, Lina. I just love that. Friends, I would like to remind you, you can ask questions during this live show. Lina will answer your questions. It will be a pleasure to understand what your questions are. We would like to have a peek in your mind as well from the kind of questions that you can post to us. We are open for that. And at the same time, I would like to again announce you that you can download every journal at the end of the session. And trust me, the journal for today's topic is a rockstar journal. I did it today as an exercise in the morning. I loved it. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. You have to just go to www.moonshotconversations.com and you can download the journal. This session that you're watching now, if you have missed or if you have to forward it to somebody else, that also will be available in the archives on our website, www.moonshotconversations.com. So, friends, let me share one thought. The journal will bring immense value to you. It is a gift from us, as we truly want to contribute to your happiness and well-being and success. We want to partner with you in your journey to good parenting and a positive and a very optimistic, strong mindset. Friends, I know the marketing and media world uses scarcity and terror to sell. What is scarce is always more desirable. I also know that when we watch the news constantly, our negative mindset gets stronger. This is being done very subconsciously and it really impacts us. We will pay more attention to negative things like being fearful, anxious, and to what is scarce. And the marketing world knows this and exploits this fact. So if we are wired to a pessimistic and in a state of looking for the bad, how can we change this, Lina? That is my question to you. How can we change when you are surrounded consciously with so much of negativity, with intentional output of taking a reaction which benefits the marketing companies? How do you change that?
So one is by changing our perspective. Yeah.
Okay.
So you spoke about the media and the news and always being fearful. Well, we know that, right? Enough neuroscience research has shown us, and we know that the media world preys on it. Once upon a time, news was half an hour with sports and weather. Today, the news is 24/7. They need to feed us fear because that's what our minds are attracted to. But the minute you're aware of that, you can actually shift your perspective, because you can come to the understanding that you don't want your emotional state and your thoughts to have control over you. You want to have control over them. Yeah? Today, even Harvard University will tell you there's a difference in your mind and your brain. right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you want your mind to power your brain and not the other way around. So we need to change our perspective. We need to regulate our emotions. So we don't want our emotional states to drive us. We want to drive our emotional states. And it's just where we put attention and where we put energy is where our emotional state will take us. So even just the reframing that I spoke about earlier, it leads immediately to an improved brain function between specific areas of your brain, which is
Wow.
the prefrontal cortex, which is the CEO of your brain,
Yeah.
and the amygdala, which is the emotional fear state of your brain. It regulates and supports healthy function between the two. So
Fabulous. Fabulous. Lena, so many technical terms, so many technical words. I'm sure the audience is enjoying it. They are going to Google it, and that also is going to be a process of their learning. But it is awesome what you just explained about the prefrontal cortex and about reframing thoughts. Reframing thoughts involves changing your perspective on a given situation to give it a more positive or beneficial meaning to you. Reframing can be used to help remove limiting beliefs, to help appreciate positive moments that you might otherwise miss, or for any other negative thought you would like to change. It's a fabulous structure of how you can reframe your thoughts and rechange your perspective. Lena, how may we apply the concept of reframing to what we are experiencing, especially today? What we are experiencing today? How do you apply the concept of reframing?
so I'll start with what I said, the language, your inner language and your outer language being very
Yes.
important. So
Yes.
if you're going to use the word lockdown, either internally or
Definitely. Yeah.
externally, it's going to conjure up negative images, right? Of because what do we associate lockdown with? Prison cells, loss of freedom, things like that.
Yes.
So we know we don't have control over this time, but we have control over our language, and we have control and choice over our thoughts. So that's all I do. So I know I can stand guard at the door of my own mind. I can focus on being locked down, which is negative. It's going to take me down one way. Oh, I can't go out to restaurants. I can't meet my friends. I'm scared of the virus. Or I can
Yes.
look at the glad in the situation. Remember, we want to play the glad game. So
Glad game. Yes.
yes, so I can say, hey, this is a pause on my busyness. What can this teach me? This association, Agnel or Rajesh, has been born out of this time that we've spent at home. It's when you and
Absolutely.
I had some time to pause and have a
Yes.
conversation over, hey, I think there's more to this world than what we're living and what we've experienced so far. I think we were going down the wrong path. Leena, Agnel, or Rajesh, can we think of better ways of contributing and of adding
Yes.
value, to people's lives? So that's what came out of you and me reframing. So it's we can actually think about this time to saying, okay, can we go from doing more to being more? Can we
Absolutely.
all collectively reshape our values to healthier ones? So
Absolutely.
if you look at any of my social media handles, it's all about rethinking childhood. It's all about rethinking education, and this is why corroboree is born, right? It's
Absolutely.
corrob- as I said last time, corroboree in the Aboriginal language is a sacred gathering, and I take
Absolutely.
the sacred gathering is not just you and me, it's everyone
It's
who's
everyone.
watching us. Yeah, we are one sacred gathering. We are collectively not only going to add value to each other's lives, but we're also going to add value to a lot of other lives. If the parent audience watching together with us, if we can change our definition of success, if we can
Yes.
change the way we treat each other, and we can do, I mean, just imagine the change and the shift we can bring in our environment. So
Yes.
you and I hopefully are creating some sort of influence and impact, and they in turn are going to go out and create phenomenal impact. And that's why, initially when we spoke about it, we want the journal to be non-chargeable, because we want to add value. We want
Yes.
we want you to be able to download as many copies as you want, because you know
Yes.
what? One of the most beautiful things you can do is to sit down as a family. I
Yes.
mean, you want to take your parenting 10x, take every journal and sit down with your family and do it as a family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so awesome, Lena. I'm loving this journey with you because it is giving something back to the environment, to the ecosystem, to the people around it. It's a glad game that I'm playing. And thanks for playing this glad game with me. I love the word glad game, Lena. I'm going to explore it more and more.
Well,
Friends, there are lots of, yeah, Lena, please go ahead.
I,
Please go
I
ahead.
didn't make that up. It's from Pollyanna. It's from the book
Whatever
that
it
I
is,
read. It's from the
whatever
book
it is.
that I read.
Yes, whatever it is, Lena. But that glad game has really caught my attention and caught my heart. I'm sure all the audience is going to enjoy this word glad games, and they are going to create glad games in their life for the rest of their lives. Friends, I know you're commenting a lot. There are a lot of questions pending for us. I will ask just two questions to Lena, and then I'm going to pick up some very smart questions. There are a lot of comments. Thanks for that, audience. Friends, sometimes it's hard to be happy when you think about what's going on in the world. It's harder still when people around you are constantly complaining about things that are happening. Friends, that doesn't mean you have to join the ranks with the pessimistic, though. In fact, it means it's more important than ever to look at the brighter side as much as possible and try to be optimistic. Lena, what are some of the things we can do to bring a spirit of optimism in our lives? I'm sure you're going to have a lot of anecdotes up your sleeve which can be shared to the audience.
Well, first of all, hang out with other people who are positive, who are not
Yes.
complete, right? Who use positive language, who think positive thoughts, who influence you to be positive. Secondly, be grateful. Think about all the good things in your life. If you can, journal. If it's not our journal, it's okay. Just a piece of paper and a pen becomes a journal. Just journal every evening that regardless of what happened to you, what are some of the things you are grateful for? You know,
Yes.
you can be grateful for the water that you can drink from your tap. And these are things, some of the things we get kids at school to do, because we forget how great and easy our lives are because
Absolutely.
we've taken it for granted. We've gone on autopilot. You know, so think about all the good things in your life and journal them, and they can be big and small. It can be the sunset, it can be, you know, and I'll just explain. My brother and I'm helping him create a positive mindset. He was here in
Wow.
India. He was here in India, and I'm looking out, and I say, wow, what a beautiful sunset. And he'll say, it's the pollution that makes it so beautiful. So you can actually always choose what you see, right? So
Yes.
focus your energy on thoughts that you can control, not things that are outside of your control. You can't control everything, and you know, watching the news is not going to make it any better. If you can help anyone, please do it. If you can't
Yes.
help, just stay out of the news. Just do the minimum that you need to do, and don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just be, and if you do need to compare yourself to anybody else, compare yourself to somebody who doesn't have as much as you. That is
Wow.
that's a way of reframing as well. Be
Wow.
mindful of your internal thoughts, your internal language, your internal story. Be very careful, because your thoughts and your language make up your story, and your story makes all the difference as to how your brain will actually process this world, right?
Wow.
So when somebody asks me, how are you coping, I will always say, I'm not coping, I'm thriving, I'm having a
Wow.
fabulous, yeah, because we just, I mean, it is what it is, right? So we can only look at the positive. Stay in the present moment. 95% of our lives are spent either in the past or in the future. Neither helps us. We go into the past, it's full of all the bad thoughts, and when we go into the future, it's full of anxiety. So stay in the present as much as you can, and you
Fantastic.
know.
Fantastic, Lena. That is so awesome. We become the words that we use. Fabulous, Lena. Fabulous. I'm so lucky to be in the company of so many positive people, and of course, you also lead the list that I have. A group of friends who are always positive. Nobody is pessimistic. Everybody talks about growth, how to make the changes in the economy, how to become the change that others want to see, and all of that. It is a fabulous world that we live in, and it is all about positivity. It all also depends on how we think. What Lena said is so right. We need to program our words. We need to be conscious. We need to be mindful of the words and the actions that are being created by those words in our minds and in our behavior. Thank you so much, Lena, on this. Friends, negative thinking refers to a pattern of thinking negatively about yourself and your surroundings. While everyone experiences negative thoughts now and then on a regular basis, negative thinking that seriously affects the way you think about yourself and the world, and also interferes with work, study, and everyday functioning, which could be a symptom of a mental illness such as depression, anxiety disorders, and also personality disorders. Lena, how can we parent in a way that our children develop more of an optimistic mindset?
So firstly, it'll depend on our behavior.
Yes.
If we are anxious and we're fearful and all of that at this time, our children will never develop an optimistic mindset. So understand that the way we parent will have your children fall into a pessimistic or an optimistic category, or where they are on the scale. Because let's be honest, we're never always positive and always optimistic. We will sometimes
Yes.
have, and we will need to reassess and catch ourselves thinking like that. But the emotional vibes that you give out, your kids will catch. So be very careful about what you're doing, because you're modeling optimism for your child. So you do need to tell your child that what can we control at this time.
Yes.
And look at what you can't control and see if you can reframe those things. And if any parent wants to interact with me and ask me that how do I reframe this for my child, I'd be more than happy to help. So there are many stories also that will help you build the optimistic mindset. We put them in the journal, and we put them for different age groups in the journal. So being pessimistic or optimistic is just a thinking habit, and you can change any habit. We all know that by the story you tell yourself. So I'll give you an example. If your child comes home with a problem or a challenge, ask your child to think of ways in which that could be beneficial. And I'll give you an example. If your child lost in football, you can ask your child, but what did you learn from losing in football? If Tom scored 2 goals and I only scored 1, is there anyone who scored no goals at all? Right? Because just even that reappraisal will put you in a happier place. So we just have to teach kids to look for the glad in any situation. So
Wow.
it's not, again, I'm saying it's not to say that when we're not going to sweep the problems under the carpet or the challenges under the carpet, we're going to recognize them, but we're still going to look at them in a way in which we can look at some possible strengths, some possible opportunities that come out of that challenge.
Wow, fantastic, Lina. I just enjoyed listening to all that you have said today. It's a lovely session. What optimism and what answers. We will really reprogram our minds, and we will look forward to the next content also. And we are looking forward for the journal. Friends, the journal has a selection of videos, very well curated, very well selected. It also has quizzes, which will really excite you and teach you. The whole family enjoying the journal and doing it together as an activity will not only bring you all closer to each other, but will also improve the understanding amongst each other and also about life and about how to be optimistic. There are plenty of comments and questions. We will answer each one of them. I will request Lina to take out time and reply to every comment that has come in, every question that has come on the Facebook. But as of now, we have run out of time, but we will answer every question on our Facebook page. Lina will do that. Even I will be joining her in doing that. Friends, let's join next Sunday to understand the importance of having and nurturing a growth mindset. The topic for next Sunday is growth mindset. A growth mindset is imperative for transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. We need to learn how to identify a mindset type and reshaping it into growth mindset. In cognitive psychology, a mindset represents the cognitive processes activated in response to a given task. We will explore this process in our next session on next Sunday. Lina is awesome with these topics, and it will be an experience to unfold and absorb this topic for maximizing our potential. Friends, after every session, I've announced it on Facebook Live. That is the current session, Moonshot Conversation Facebook page and YouTube channel. Our journal download is available on our website, moonshotconversations.com. The seamless, simple ways to download is to visit moonshotconversations.com and download the journal as many times as you would like. It would be a fabulous thing if the family can join and do the journal together. Lina Asher and I will be in conversation every Sunday at 5 p.m. And next Sunday's topic, like I just said, is growth mindset. Together, let us maximize human potential. We welcome your questions during our live interaction next Sunday. Have a wonderful, impactful, glorious, and optimistic life ahead. And may you be blessed with peace, happiness, love, and light. Thank you so much.
Thank you.